It's all about data. And so it brings up the very important question in the Nigerian business landscape. Can data solve Nigeria's biggest problems? Generally speaking, even if you want to look at it from that stretch. And on today's edition of The Entrepreneur, I will be speaking with someone who has thrived and is still thriving in that field. He's an accountant by profession and is also working with data. I'm talking about Adekunle Victor Ayokami. Is my guest for today's program on The Entrepreneur, and he joins me live on the phone line this afternoon from somewhere in Nigeria. Good afternoon to you. Victor, it's good to have you on The Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too. Thanks so much for taking me.
Interesting. Now, let's talk about data. If you listen to the preamble, businesses, schools, government, everybody needs data, even individuals. So it brings a very important question. What does it really mean to use data to solve problems in a country like Nigeria? We have to be specific because of the complex nature of what we tend to battle. So what does it really entail if we're using data to solve problems in our country?
Okay. So thank you very much for having me, as I said earlier. So, first of all, let me come from this angle. If you have a problem, before you can solve a problem, you need to understand the problem.
Absolutely.
So, understanding the problem gives you the strength, or gives you the power, or gives you the knowledge of what to do to the problem in order to solve it. This information that you are getting to solve this problem, it's called data. There's no information that you acquire. You acquire every information through data. Human behavior can be acquired through data. What their perspective of generally can be acquired through data. So data is a vital part in solving the problem. Now there's data and there's using that data to do the right thing.
Okay.
You can get data and at the same time not use it. So it's a process. It's a reaction. You get data, you effect it, then you get another data based on what you've done to see how far you've gone. So that's what data is. But in Nigeria, we're trying, because from the point of the fintech industry, you're already using data. They're using data to determine the people's financial, their behavior towards financial
transactions,
environment, transactions, and all stuff. In the agricultural sector too as well. We're already using data to study the weather, to know what to produce each particular time, and pricing as well too. So some businesses also too, they use data to determine what their customer is about, what they need to do, and how the trend generally. So to my own point, I feel data is what can solve a very serious problem. Like let's say on employment. Data is first of all, when you talk about employment, we talk about solving. We need to know where the company's the market is. We need to understand what part of areas are having problems with unemployment.
Very correct.
Where are the places we have industries? So those are data that you need to collate to understand where you need to help.
True. Now, Victor,
the
fact that you talk about unemployment rather, it's actually very interesting. Guess what? I guess we're talking business, but in the business of handling transactions, there's also the people. And that springs up the matter of poverty. I had to emphasize that so that whoever is listening would capitalize the message in their head. Poverty that doesn't come with properties. Where is this? That's because there's unemployment, no meaningful engagement, poverty follows. And when poverty follows, for some it stays and traces them to the grave. So Victor, we're talking data. For some people it's about big data, for others it's about small data. Utilization is what matters. Can we truly use data to address, these serious issues in our country?
Okay. So far, yeah. In Nigeria now, we won't say we don't have data of some important things. It is just the utilization that's been an issue. So when I mean utilization, if from the data that we have on job market data, we understand the areas that all these things are affecting. We know what we are supposed to do when everybody tells you that there is no employment in a particular area. We know that we need to create jobs. Then, moreover, there's education part of it where we need to educate the population on this particular thing, on this particular data, because even amongst ourselves, let's not even go from among ourselves, we could create jobs among ourselves with just little data around. I understand that in my community, we have a problem with children around having nowhere to play around. I could start a small business around where children come and have fun.
Okay.
That's the data that I just collated in my head about children around that needs to have fun in a very particular area, that they are not capable to go to the big areas.
Interesting.
So if we have this mentality of knowing how to use data, when they say data, everybody feels data is about getting things down alone, writing something down. Even data, I just collated the data off my head now based on children around. So all these things are, if we now go in a large scale, it will definitely help Nigeria. I have collected the data about children, but I have not created anything for them to use.
Oh, okay. So
I just have a data without utilizing it.
There's the collation of data, and there's the execution of data.
Execution of data, analyzing and executing based on your analysis.
Would I be correct to say data can also be observation pit, troubleshooting about the environment and finding a solution?
Yes, you are correct. You are totally correct.
Interesting. This is still the Entrepreneur on your everything on PlayStation WAVE91.7 FM, and from inception, I was sure that today the wheels will be re-engineered because a lot will be learned. I'm speaking with Adekunle Victor. He's an accountant and also someone who works with data from time to time, and we're asking a very important question: can data solve Nigeria's biggest problems? If you're in this part of the world and you've not yet familiarize yourself with what data is, the figures, the metrics, using it to solve problems, you might think that what we're talking about is very far from you. But no, people are using it to transform lives on a daily basis. In fact, if you own a social media account, you are susceptible to your data being collected, of course, with some level of consent, depending on the type of data that's being collected. And the same data will be used to push things to you. So they find out that markets need to be exploited. They push items that you search for on the internet to you. That's data at work. Now, my guest is still on the line, and because of the importance of this conversation, Victor, I want to ask you. You've mentioned about these data. I wouldn't want to, ask how they are being used in many sectors in Nigeria because you've been able to point out some critical sector. But what are the biggest challenges preventing Nigeria, our own Niger, what are the challenges preventing her from using data effectively?
Okay. So first of all, I would say data literacy. So the area I'm coming from is we do not understand what data is, how to analyze data, what to use data for. Then we also have poor data quality. So this is because of that same literacy, data literacy. You do not know what to collect. You don't know the data to collect. You have a problem and you want to collect the data to fix the problem. You need to understand, what data do I need to collect to fix this particular problem? So that's still under data literacy. Lack of infrastructures, when I say constant internet, power, storage system, because when you're collecting data, it requires storage system, it requires good internet.
True.
So limited data skills among the population, that's also an issue. With data sharing, I think all these ones, we need to be educated. We need to constant education, like what we're doing right here now. It's opening some people's eyes to what data should be, how data should be collated, what data do I need to transform my business.
Victor, do you think we're so much better about data literacy? Because in most of the training, maybe you are in Lagos and you find out that because of the hubs, these things come through from time to time. But in Port Harcourt here, River State, I've not heard about people talking about data literacy and all of that. They just say, come, let's teach you XYZ. Nobody's talking about training people on data and all of that. That's a deficit.
See, yeah, it is a deficit. But really, even here that you said, because we are open to it, most of it, do you know that the internet space actually helped people in trying to know about data?
Okay.
So from time to time, everybody just sees, you go on the internet, you see a lot of people talking about data. You see that you are watching something on your phone because you've seen that thing twice on your phone. That's what they'll keep showing you.
True.
Start thinking about money now, and you just check something about money. The next two slides that you go, you'll find out that they are just bringing in something about money to you.
I agree. It's even worse.
Automatic.
Let me give you a short story. I walked into a shopping mall and I met someone just for the first time, and we exchanged pleasantries. By the time I got to my office, it popped out on my socials, people you may know, and I said from where to where, and that's data at work.
Yeah, that's data at work. Because now what they did was the timestamp. Then you checked that, how many minutes you spent on one thing to look at it, to listen to it. They have collected that data, or they have used that data immediately to work on what you are thinking.
Interesting.
So that means you can use data to determine what the person will do in the next days.
Okay. Now, Victor, I'd love to pause you on this one. Let me establish the phone lines. If you want to make a contribution to this conversation, you've actually heard or seen data work in the manner that my guest is trying to describe to you. You can call in and share your contribution on this program. It's the entrepreneur. If you do business as well, all of those shipment thing and all of that, you understand what data is. You can call in, ask questions, and share your thoughts. The number to call is 090-22917917. You can also call 070-4000-1783. Feel free to call 0908-185-5966. Victor, the election era, speaking about 2027, is drawing closer. And if there's anything that has formed a border to Nigerians, it's about who will be our next president, if at all it will favor President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, there's still that talk around the power of incumbent. However, whether it's a Tinubu in government today or any other person, governance has to be built on structures of transparency. So I'd ask you a very daring question. Can data improve governance systems and transparency, especially in our country? Does it work?
Yeah, it will work. It might, should I just say it might work? Because one, this is what the data will do. The data will force you to be accountable.